would have been, when the fuck did that air? Because I was here on time, but it aired. So I told you I did the sunrise at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't let the sun rise before I went live. I just started 4.5 hours late. But I made sure everybody who was here, because there was a lot of people here last night. There was some hecklers though, but there was a lot of people here last night when I was talking about making that money move. So I know. I was thinking the same thing. The only difference is because I'm a minority. So what I did was, while I do all this research for all of these different countries, I did some research to see which cultures are more susceptible to minorities. And the reason why I did that is specifically not because of racism, but because cultural diversity has certain cultures that are more susceptible to the novelty of a minority. But that's a non-serious relationship. So, the rumor about guys having long, packages and whatnot, the women are like, oh, I want to see what that's like. And then, so that means that you're going to have like a superficial relationship with those types of individuals, but it's not going to lead into anything permanent. It can, but it's less likely. The friends with benefits kind of thing. So they'll, be a consistent sex partner, but they won't actually commit kind of thing. So the problem is that when I looked, I was like, well, which cultures would really be into that like long-term permanent thing? And I mean, yeah, you have again, the Philippines is number one, and then you had like Vietnam, Japan, but Japan and Vietnam are more novel. You would do better in was it Belize? I think it was the islands, and that's because it was multicultural scenario. Like South Africa would be really good, but the women over there in South Africa be cussing you out, so you got ask yourself. So so I looked for that while I was looking at all these other countries, but then I said, well, I'm not just doing this for the brothers, I'm doing this for all men. So I typically cover the one that covers a spread, and I let you guys know where y'all can save money, make money, find you a female, and then y'all just got to make it work from there. But anybody who's like specific nationalities, like what do they think? Because the first thing that happens is that women like you because you're an American, and then after that, other stereotypes apply. He said, bet those gonna be on my to fit list, to fly list. Gotta find a loyal female. We like who females we likes me for me. Oh, who likes me for me? Yeah, you're right. And that's one of the things that the more wealth that we generate, that's going to be one of our main concerns as men, is when we do find a woman that wants to settle down with us, because we put all of this effort into our financial success, where the woman that we're talking to at that point, we're hoping is going to prioritize us in that fashion. Because even if you went to the Philippines, you could find you a female, and that female could be about making that money, and you could get scammed really quickly. You could find yourself in a bathtub full of ice missing a kidney. It happens, but also at the same time, if you find a woman that calls herself getting into a serious relationship with you, that woman will give you 15 to 20 years. They will refuse to go anywhere until it's absolutely not possible to make the situation work. So unless you get pissed off and run her off, it's less likely that she would get fed up with you and dip at the drop of a hat. The patience of the Western woman is not there to make a relationship work. The patience of a Western woman has died out over the past 30 years. Back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, the Western women used to give 10 and 20 years of their life to their boyfriends and husbands to see if they could make it work, but not no more. So now they're giving you probably 5 to 10 days at best, and if they don't like what they see, they're not even going to try to give you, because they're allegedly so young, and they could do better and all this other stuff. But it's like, you've got to build it, and you can't get the finished product. It's not a 3-step process. You have to build it, like building the Millennium Falcon out of Legos. You got to build it like building a life-size Mustang out of Legos. You got to build it, and it's going to take time. But they don't want to invest the time. The ones that do are happy about it, but the ones that don't, not so much. The women that we're finding in Asia, all over Asia, are women that are at 35 and 40 years old, divorced, because more often than not, they get married between 18 and 22, and they give 10 years of their life, 5 to 10 years of their life, if not more, to the marriage. And then at some point down the line, they get fed up with their husband's behavior and they get divorced, or the husband gets fed up with their behavior, whichever the case may be, and get divorced. Usually the excuse from the women that I hear is that either the man ran off with her money, the man cheated on her, something like that, and then the relationship kind of died after that. So, okay, cool. But the weird thing is that you don't find that many single individuals over there. Yeah, Freddie said they are not compatible. Special shout out to Freddie. Yeah, you're right. They are not compatible. But you don't know if you're truly compatible with somebody else, and you don't know if you can adapt to that person if you do not put in the time and the effort. And one of the things that we spend a lot of time with is superficial expectations. Men looking for getting laid, women looking for getting paid, and between the two, we don't have a dynamic of prioritizing our own individual needs. So it's one of those things. What's up, Freddie from Steven on Twitter X? So we don't work on our priorities in a relationship, what we're expecting to experience, and then we don't work on seeing if we want to provide what our partner is looking for. And because there's that selfishness from our end, and then the lack of prioritization of ourselves at the same time, we're trying to get what we want without ever seeing if we can get what we want. And then that lack of focus leads us down the wrong path. And those relationships don't last. Typically, on average, 1 year, 5 months, 6 days or less. So, that's not a lot of time. I mean, you say that's a lot of time over the span of your life, but when you think about you're less than a year and 6 months, which means that you've had 2 relationships in 3 years, long-term relationships in 3 years. So you can cover the span of 6 or 7 relationships in 10 years time. And if you have some relationships that last 3 years and other relationships that last a year or 6 months, you're averaging almost 7 relationships a year, 7 relationships in a decade. So from your 18th birthday, when you're legally able to date, or if we dial it back to your 15th birthday, when you weren't legally old enough to date, up until you're 35, you're looking at 20 years. And in 20 years, you've had 14 bad relationships. And you're single now. Single now, and you're trying to find the right person. This is what we talk about. This is what we talk about. Steven says American women gonna give you 2 days at best. Yeah, the first date that you pay for and the second date that you pay for, and if you don't impress them, they not staying. And I keep telling women that is the wrong way to go. Not because I don't feel like I can afford to pay for you, but it's the fact that if I'm spending all this money to impress you, then I'm not saving no money. And if I'm not saving no money and you decided to get with me, if I'm willing to take every extra dollar that I got and waste it on entertaining you, then when will you be able to retire working? Because if we end up in a kind of relationship where we both have to work, and then I take every extra dollar that we have and I spend it on doing stupid stuff for you, and some of the times guys are terrible at getting girls gifts. Some girls just like the gift because they got the gift from the man, but other girls have expectations as to what type of gift they would prefer to get. And then you're getting all these gifts and you got all this stuff in the house, and it's cluttering up the house and taking up space. And yeah, it looks nice, and yeah, you might wear some of it or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're always living from paycheck to paycheck, and you don't have enough money to take a sick day. You don't have enough money to take time off. You don't have enough money for vacation. You got to think to yourself, like, what kind of life do you really have if you're living with a man that's wasting every dollar that he's got buying bullshit to make you smile, and you're enthusiastic for the first 30 seconds, but you're going to put that shit with the other shit that he gave you before. Jewelry box full of jewelry that you don't never wear, closet full of clothes you don't never wear, closet full of shoes, a storage unit full of stuff you can't fit in your house. Now you're paying for a storage unit. Like, think about it, ladies. I mean, let's be real. And then you got to make up the difference because he wasting all this money on you. And y'all could be building for retirement where y'all could quit y'all jobs. Your whole standard of living is paid for, and he could still buy that bullshit for you. Just wait a few years. That's what I'm saying. Find a man with financial responsibility. Don't find a man that's got deep pockets, because deep pockets is like Chris Brown. You don't want broken jaws, black eyes, and fractured collarbones just because a man got money. You want a man that's going to value you for who you are, but you're supposed to value him for who he is, because you're guaranteed to get what he's got because he's a good dude. That's what I be trying to tell women. Steven said if she ain't want no date at McDonald's, if she ain't the right one, bro. If she's not getting some chicken nuggets out the drive-through because we ain't got time to sit at this damn parking lot, bro, it ain't gonna work out. It ain't gonna work out. If she we talk about couple sliders from Steak and Shake, we're gonna split the plate. What 3 to 6 sliders from Shake and Shake, you get some, I get some. Split a drink, 2 straws. If you I want the bottomless salad and the endless soup. 2 cups of water, 4 lemons, and a bunch of sugar. We're gonna make some lemonade. Oh shit. Special shout out for Red Chaff 76. It's been a while since I've seen him. He said, I read a newsletter last week that says 75% of the population was living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, you right. You damn right. You damn right. And not only that, 61% of households have 2 incomes. So we had somebody jump onto the show last week, and they were trying to tell me that everybody worked 5 days a week. You full of shit. If 61% of American households have 2 incomes, if you live in the house by yourself, you got 2 incomes. If you live in a house with somebody else, you got at least 2 incomes. If each job is working you 5 days a week, and some of these jobs offset, not deliberately, but based on your availability, you might work 5 days a week on one job and alternate and work 5 days a week on the other job, where you're working 2 jobs 4 days a week, or 2 jobs 3 days a week, and then you off on one job but got to go to work on the other, and then you ultimately end up, there we go, 6 days a week, 1 day off on both jobs. That's how it is. Most people do that. Most people work one job in the morning, one job in the afternoon, 3 to 4 days a week, work one job one day and have half a day off in the afternoon, one job one day and have half of the morning off, and 1 full day off. So they work 6 days a week. And that's if you're not working on double overtime. Special shout out to Wells. He said, hey boss, just got home from work, about to hit the hay. Popping in to say, keep up the thoughtful content, brother. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you, my man. I really appreciate you. So today, he said, yeah, bro, this is why you the GOAT. I really appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. It took a long time, man, because I started this podcast in 2023, and we could not find a direction in the first year. And then by the end of last year, I finally found the direction that I wanted to go with this. And over the past almost a year, I've been doing it, changing it, alternating it, manifesting it in a better way to make sure that the information makes sense for everybody. Because I mean, it's different if you're like a entertainment kind of podcast. It's like something that people can like laugh at and enjoy on the way through, or a little bullshit ass debates, and but that's not meaningful. When I start doing life-changing knowledge and information, like today's topic, we're going to be talking about the empty nesters, when the kids leave the house and still broke, what the hell happened? That's what we're supposed to be talking about today. I give you guys like really knowledgeable advice that makes you guys stop and think and makes you guys improve, so that he said, let me message Elon and Trump to sponsor you. They need to, bro. They need to. They need to run $1 million campaign on me. especially since Elon is piloting more variations of his Tesla robot. Some of them motherfuckers look like the new police department bitches. Fresh out of Terminator. Looking like iRobot with a black plate on his chest. I'm like, oh shit. I said Skynet was gonna go after us, bro. Goddamn Tesla on his chest, Digitech on his ass. It's gonna be it's gonna be a hostile takeover when they mainstream them some bitches, but it is what it is. We'll see. It's gonna happen after I pass, I'm hoping. But I'm gonna teach my kids about it so that they can navigate around it. But let me go ahead and get into today's topic, because I know that you guys came for something. He said, I need a robot. You know what? I was looking at them robots and I was like, man, I would like to have one of those. But my biggest concern about the bitches is that I don't want to put my robot as a carry-on, and I don't know if the motherfucker will fit in the damn pilot seat to be flown. I might have to fly first class so that my robot got room to sit next to me on the plane. Cause I got to be the bitch that's got, nah, he my security. I got be walking through the place with this robot like Sarah Jane Chronicles, like, nah. It's +1. It's gonna get hacked and I'm gonna be cooked. Bro, it's gonna get hacked and the plane is gonna get cooked. That's crazy. Now make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all come through. And oh, note, for those of you that's watching on Twitter or Twitch, as you've seen with Steven and RevChamp76, y'all can comment. This is a live interactive show. Y'all see y'all comments if they're appropriate up here at the top of the screen. And if you guys want to jump on in real time, y'all can click the link, approve the mic, approve the camera. It brings you on in real time. You just got to be over the age of 18 to be on the video and appropriately dressed. So no inappropriate attire, you know. And inappropriate attire is basically violating any YouTube guidelines. So I mean, outside of that, I don't care what you wear, but you know, you see me in a suit, you kind of want to match that, you know, even if you put like an ascot on or cover yourself in the black. I don't give a fuck. We'll figure it out. It said, and you, if that robot is gonna get hacked and turn on you, shoo, I ain't even think. Look, I've seen some movies like Eureka and other such series. I forgot the name of that other robot movie, not iRobot, but the other one where the robot was the dude's babysitter, and then the robot took over the house and tried to kill the wife and all that. I was like, dang, why y'all make the robot get jealous? Like, why can't y'all like teach robot to, you know, be part of the team? This pre-recorded today is not pre-record. I don't have any pre-recorded shows so far. So I have not, I have thought about doing a pre-recorded show and air it during a time when I'd be asleep. But that I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that yet. He said, I had a robot vacuum 1 week later, that thing broke. Now I had a robot vacuum for 2 or 3 years. That some bitch was good. I got to get me another one. I don't know where it's at right now. That some bitch disappeared on me. I think he went on strike. Got tired of vacuuming up dog hair. But I give me another one. This time I'm gonna go buy a Mexican one. That way it don't mind working. My vacuum cleaner spoke in Japanese. This time it's gonna be Latin. Hey, clean your floor, senor. Make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all come through. But check this out, though. For the last 20, maybe 30 years, predictable, beautiful chaos. He said, hold on. He said, yo, the dog hair got stuck on that. No. So what happens is that it goes straight into the thing, and it's in the garbage tray. The only thing is that the garbage, it doesn't have enough weight. When you shake the garbage tray, it doesn't just come out of the garbage tray. So you got to kind of like fish it out of there, but it's just a big clump and it comes on out. But it takes 2 to 3 weeks to fill up the vacuum cleaner, because that's all that's on the floor. It's like dust and dog hair. And then after that, you got to empty out the tray and then put it back in. But no, what happened is that I was supposed to bring it to a family member, and I packed it up and I don't know where it is. So when I went to unpack it, I'm like, what box was it in? It'll show up somewhere. Then I'll have two, because I'm gonna buy another one, because I don't want to look for the one that I got. And then when I unpacked the one that I was supposed to ship, the one that I got will be next to the one that I don't, and they'll be just taking turns cleaning the house. I don't really give a fuck. But no, I got another one. I got a Dirt Devil, like Hoover kind of situation, and that one has the hurricane thing, and it does the same thing. So when you vacuum the floor, the dust spirals up. And the difference between dust and dog hair is that when the dust spirals up, the dust has weight. So when you push the button and the bottom falls out, all of the weight pushes the dirt out. But when it's hair does not have enough weight to force itself out. So you're either going to be shaking a thing to shake all the stuff out, or you got to get something and like hook in there, swoop it, and then just kind of pull it out. But again, it comes out as a big glob of dust, look like long strings of dust, and it comes straight on out and goes straight into the garbage can. So, which is better, because you don't have like that mist of dirt that comes back into your face. But I got to vacuum quite a bit, because dogs are shedders. The ones that I have are shedders. I don't pick my dogs pick me. So when that happens, I take them as they are. If they're long hairs or short hairs, I just have to take extra time to groom them, like trim their hairs or brush the extra hairs off and throw them into the thing. He said, I'm heading out tired today, talking tomorrow off though. See you tomorrow in the live. Definitely. And I should be able to give you some more information about some of the stocks that we got going on. So I appreciate you stopping by, Steven. You have a good night. All right, y'all. So y'all understand that y'all have a decent rundown of y'all day-to-day lives for 10, 20 years, sometimes 30 years, because y'all have kids back to back. Just when one turned 18, still got a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. Y'all figure out that schools run wild hours, soccer practice, late night homework, help, and the constant buzz of a full house. You were a parent, a provider, a caregiver. That was your main identity. And through it all, probably had this thought in the back of your mind: when kids finally leave, we'll have so much more money, finally get ahead. Then it happens. The last child packs their bag and heads off to college or their first apartment or their first marriage and moves out. The house is quiet, eerily quiet. You walk past their empty rooms and feel that weird mix of pride, sadness, and a little bit of freedom. But when you sit down to look at your finances at the end of the month, that freedom just vanished. The numbers on the screen tell a story you weren't expecting. The grocery bill is smaller, sure, and there's one less car on the insurance, but the money isn't piling up. In fact, things feel just as tight as before. The stress is still there. That feeling of being on a financial treadmill, working so hard and getting nowhere, is still very real. You still stuck living paycheck to paycheck. If this feels familiar, you're not imagining it. And you are definitely not alone. It's one of the most common yet least talked about financial traps for people in their 50s and 60s. Oh, those would have been good tags for the show. You expected a financial windfall, but you got the same old struggle, just in a quieter house. The reasons are complicated, built up over decades of habits and powerful emotions. So many parents find themselves right here, feeling lost, confused, and worried about what's next. But what if this quiet season of your life isn't an ending? What if it's the starting line for your most powerful and fulfilling chapter yet? What if you could turn this uncertainty into a launch pad for building real, lasting wealth and designing a retirement that you're actually excited about? And Rev, you're going to love a lot of this because let me grab something to drink. Got me choking up in here. Because we're going to be talking about setting up you realize that you spent more than 20 years raising your kids thinking that once they left home, you'd finally get some financial breathing room. But if you're looking at your bank account and still feeling the stress of living paycheck to paycheck, I want you to know that you're not alone. The reality for so many empty nesters is that the financial drains don't just disappear, they just change form. So what if you could turn this moment of uncertainty into the most financially powerful decade of your life? In tonight's show, we're going to give you guys the hidden reasons you're still stuck, and I'll give you a 5-step plan to finally break the cycle and start building real wealth. Now, before we can build a new future, we have to get honest about the present. The first step is figuring out, why is this happening? Why didn't your kids leaving home automatically free up an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a month? I was about to say 100. No, thousands. It's because the empty nest financial windfall is mostly a myth. The expenses don't vanish, they just morphed. Let's look at the 5 invisible currents keeping you stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle. First, there's a monster of lifestyle inflation. For years, you told yourself no to the fancy trip, no to the newer car, no to the restaurant. Everywhere, everyone was talking about going to places, and everywhere they were going, you weren't going because you had to make these sacrifices for the kids. Now the house is empty, and the powerful thought comes up: we deserve this. But this "we deserve it" mindset can be the trap. It doesn't usually show up as one big reckless purchase. It's a 1,000 tiny upgrades. You start eating out a little more instead of cooking at home. You book a slightly nicer hotel instead of getting the basic one you would have gotten with the kids. Because typically when you got kids, you try to find the cheapest hotel with the cheapest decorum. You don't care if it's a 2-star or 3-star, because especially if you got children, you want to make sure that the quality of the hotel is not going to get pissed off if your kids break anything, right? And whatever it is that your kids are fucking with, you want to make sure that it's not going to be expensive for you to replace, because they're going to charge it to your card, right? But when you don't have kids, you upgrade the quality because you are not going to devalue the property, and your kids are not going to go into the minibar and cost you $500 or $700 extra dollars on your trip because they open the fridge to see what was inside. Because once you break to see everything inside of that fridge, you might as well take everything out of the fridge now. So the thing is, you upgrade your hotel. You finally decide to renovate the kitchen because the kitchen's been needing to be upgraded. You might get that bigger TV because the kids aren't going to break the TV anymore. So you get a bigger TV, get one that works, that has all the buttons on it with a functioning remote. You know, each expense seems reasonable, a reward you've earned after decades of raising children. But all together, they create a new higher level of spending that quietly eats up any money you've freed up before you know it. And that cash that could have gone into your 401k, could have followed us in our investment opportunities with dividend rotation strategies. You could have put it into your Roth IRA. You know, you could have done something other than spend it on upgrading your lifestyle. All of that money now funding a lifestyle you never had time for before, and you're not saving any more than you used to. The money that you weren't putting on your kids, you're now putting on upgrading your standard of living. The second is what I call financial inertia. For the last 2 decades, your budget has been on autopilot, set up to support a family of 4 or 5. You still have the family cell plan. So this family cell plan is the huge cable bill package, the big SUV, and the 4-bedroom house. Your household size has shrunken by a third or even half, but your financial infrastructure is expectedly the same. You're not downgrading from the big SUV because you no longer have the kids. So the extreme gas mileage and high insurance costs for that SUV is still going to be there. You're not downgrading from the large cable package or the large family plan because the kids are no longer in the house. You probably still pay for your kids' phone bill because they're on the family plan. And your kids aren't giving you a percentage of money to cover the phone bill that they're utilizing. First mistake you should be doing. I don't mind giving the kids a cell phone bill, but I would charge the kids a cell phone bill from their very first cell phone, where they would pay me for their phone bill, which would be substantially lower than what they would be paying the phone company. But most plans give you like 5 or 7 or so lines of service, and you're getting all these lines of service with the understanding that the second line is $35, the third line might be free, the fourth line might be $25, the fifth line might be free. But if I've got a wife and 3 kids on my phone plan, and each one of the kids is paying $50 a month for their phone bill, then I'm getting $150 a month towards a $300 phone bill. Should not be paying for more than me and the wife. Think about that. You get this massive cable plan. I was looking at my household and I was like, wait, hold on. We're like $250 something for cable, basic cable. And then I was like, wait, we have unlimited 5G internet and smart TVs. Man, we're going to switch over to the internet and just watch whatever's on the smart TV for the cost of the $30 a month internet. Save $210 or $220 a month on cable, because you're still watching bullshit on TV. And if you're not watching the TV, you should be watching Netflix. So then you should not have the desire to watch something that's not accessible. You see what I'm saying? So changing the way you budget your spending, because when everybody leaves, you're not adjusting any of your plans. You're not reducing any of your services because you've gotten used to it. You've had it for so long. Most people just don't stop to completely reevaluate their budget from the ground up. They don't sit down and say, okay, our life is different now. Let's build a budget for a 2-person household. Instead, they keep the same habits, and that extra money just gets absorbed into discretionary spending. Likewise, a lot of families leave life the way things are so that in case the kids come back, that nothing has changed. Some parents don't even change the children's bedrooms, leave them the way they were, turning it into a storage unit. Me, myself, I would move all your shit into the garage or something and turn your room into a gym, a yoga studio, sewing room, whatever mom's hobby is. She's got a room for her, dad's got a gaming room, whatever, so that we're not wasting money going out to a gym or something like that, so that we can get whatever we could have got right there in the house. And if you come back, we can make some changes. We can but leave the weekend after you're gone. Nah, it has changed, bro. You're coming back like, wow, you didn't waste any time. No, I actually did. It was a 48-hour delay from when I unpacked your stuff at your new location to when I packed your stuff at your old location. It's not gonna give it a second thought. Now you end up, until people make these kinds of changes, you end up paying for a life you're not even living anymore. The third drain, and maybe the most powerful, is emotional spending. The shift to an empty nest is a big deal emotionally. It can bring up loneliness, grief, and a feeling like you've lost your purpose. The whole rhythm of your life is gone. And how do you often cope with uncomfortable feelings? Typically, you spend money. Filling this quiet house might mean filling online shopping carts. Fighting off loneliness could look like booking expensive trips or signing up for a bunch of streaming services to fill the evening. Fellas, we might spend a lot more time online gaming, paying for memberships, buying avatars, boosting up our player accounts, because we have extra money to spend. So now we're gonna go all in for the upgraded packages, a bunch of DLCs. You know, you got some guys who like to mod out their cars and put that extra stereo system they've been longing to wait on, get those rims they were looking at for a long period of time, all this other stuff. That the things that you could not afford to do had kids are going to be the things that you're going to start doing now that you don't have kids in the house, but you're still wasting money that you don't need on frivolous spending that has arbitrarily no lasting benefit to you. And a lasting benefit, in my opinion, is not that difficult to comprehend. A lasting benefit is something that you're going to get to enjoy and have the desire to enjoy frequently for years. Getting a coffee cup that you don't have coffee cups, but getting a specific coffee cup that you're going to use every day, that's kind of a lasting benefit, because you do drink coffee every day and you get a specific coffee cup. But if you have 75 coffee cups in your house, you are not going to drink 75 different coffee cups every day of the week. You're probably going to have your go-to cup. You're going to have your backup cup if your primary cup is not being utilized. So buying certain things just because it's cute, just because it's memorable, it does not mean that it's just something that you're going to use on a regular basis. Any type of memorabilia, I'm not going to say don't buy memorabilia. Memorabilia is items that you purchase. Special shout out for Gigi. But I'm not saying that you're not supposed to buy memorabilia, but you want to be fairly cheap with your memorabilia purchases, because you're buying trinkets, you're buying items that commemorates a memory. When you look at that item, it triggers a memory from a positive time in your life. That's all it's there for. And it becomes decorations, which actually collects dust and actually takes up space. Interesting, and gives your household a background of what kind of life you lived with your family based on the trinkets you have lying around the house, which, if you take the memories out of those trinkets, a bunch of garbage that is lying around the house, because it serves absolutely no purpose other than decorative space keeping, right? But how much of that stuff do you actually use? This isn't about being irresponsible, right? It's a very human response to a massive life change. You're not just buying a new gadget. You're buying a distraction, a little dopamine hit to patch an emotional hole. Just seeing the connection between you and your heart and your wallet is the first step You got to understand that there is an issue between buying something that you want and don't need versus buying something that you can benefit from for over an extended period of time. The fourth thing we have to talk about is the uncut financial umbilical cords. For so many families, the kids are gonna, this is something that's gonna happen. They're gonna be gone. They're gone, but their expenses aren't. A huge percentage of parents in some studies, well over half, are still helping their adult children financially because they did not teach their children financial responsibility when they were younger. They did not set their children up for financial success when they were younger. So the children would only be a financial burden, not contribute to the household, and ask for a handout because they have a pulse, and you would give it to them because you have money. Parents would spoil their children. This is really what it is. Truth be told, parents will spoil their children by giving the children an allowance. You give them an allowance for not misbehaving. You'll give them an allowance for getting good grades on their report card. You bribe them to be responsible children. Not even responsible children. You're actually bribing them to be behaved children, not necessarily responsible children. I've told you guys plenty of times before that if you tax them on their chores and their operations and stuff to that effect, you make that a business where they're going to do certain things and they're going to get a certain cut based on what they're accomplishing. And you make sure that you dollar for dollar that shit so that they understand that you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C for X, Y, and Z. And then with the cost and benefits of you giving them a certain quantity of money for them to do stuff, you can recoup a lot of the things that you gave the money for, because when they ask you to do something and you say no, and then they ask you a second time, you put a price on doing what you don't want them to do. They want to go hang out by their friend's house. You say no. They say, oh, come on, please. You tell them $150. You go stay by your friend's house. There, you know what I mean? If you gave them $150 over the last 2 weeks for the chores that they were doing, it's like, well, I don't want you to go, so you're not going. But at the same time, if you pay me, I'll let you go. Then they give you back the allowance money you gave them. But it shows them responsibility, because if they were doing work for you, they were getting paid for that work, and then they spent the money. Then when they come and ask you for something stupid, you give them a price. They're looking at how they already spent their money. Well, then you can't go. It teaches them how to invest and save. It teaches them how to budget. And as you're showing them this stuff along the way, it makes them more financially responsible. So they're less dependent upon you when they become an adult. Since nobody's teaching their children financial responsibility in any way, shape, or form, the kids receive money, spend money, and then come and ask their parents for money. Their parents is the first loan office that they go to. Another thing that you need to do: loan your kids money under contract with interest attached to it. You want something from me? First time it happens, sure. I'm going to give you a loan. It's going to be a compounding interest loan. So every month we're going to reevaluate the loan, and interest will be applied to your principal, and it'll stay that way until you pay off the loan. You must pay off the first loan before I give you a second loan. That's how it's got to go. There isn't a situation where, oh, mom, I'll pay you back for both times. Just give me the money now. No, you got to pay me for the first one before I give you money for the second. That's how it works. And in those dynamics, you're not spreading yourself too thin by continuously funding their existence. You get them on their own 2 feet. The same way birds teach baby birds how to fly, you push them out of the nest. You'll either fly or you'll hit the ground, one of the two. We'll put you back in the nest, and then I'll push you out again. And we'll keep doing this until you start flying. That's the way it is. But those who take care of their kids on a regular basis, they're still doing it because it could be paying their cell phone bill, especially if you have it bundled into a family plan. They help with the rent. A lot of the times you help your kids move into their first apartment. You put the down payment down. You pay the first couple of months rent. You pay for your kids' car insurance. You probably pay for their car notes. You're making payments on their student loans because you started with their student loans before they were old enough to get a job, or you told them not to get a job so that they could focus on their education, and you're paying for their student loans so that they can go to college. Now they're on their own in college, and you're still paying for their student loans so they don't have financial obligations. And these are like ghost expenses. They aren't for your household anymore, but they still haunt your budget. Of course, we do this out of love. We want to see our kids get a good start. Instead of teaching them financial responsibility in order for them to have that good start, we just fund their start so that they can hit the ground running. However, there's a big difference between giving them a hand up and giving them a permanent handout. This constant financial support, if it doesn't have a clear limit, can be one of the biggest roadblocks to funding your own retirement and establishing your children's own financial instability or financial independency. Every dollar you give to your adult child is a dollar you can't invest for your own future. Now, if you have children that you've conditioned appropriately, I'm not going to say raised, because you raised your children well, but there's a difference between raising your children to be functional adults and you conditioned your children for pack mentality and being functional adults. Children that are conditioned to pack mentality will be duty bound to their parents when they're older. These are going to be the children that no matter where they go in life, when they have an extra dollar, they're sending it back to mom and dad. When mom and dad retire, typically rearrange their life to include their mom and dad into their financial budget. So those lifestyles, you invest in your kid until you retire, and then your kid invests in your retirement. But for the most of us that are here in America in 2025, you invest in your kid until your kid screws up and comes back, and then you're continuing to invest into your kid, and then you reach an age where you can't invest in your kid anymore, and then your kid's on his own, and sometimes your kid fails, and then nothing. You can't retire on your kid because your kid is a dependent of somebody else, and you stay broke. Finally, there's the trap of waiting too long to downsize. That 5-bedroom house was a blessing when the kids were growing up. It holds so many memories, but now it might be your single biggest and most unnecessary expense, because households cost about 67% of your income. People put off downsizing for all kinds of reasons. They're emotionally attached. It feels overwhelming to think about moving, or they hope kids will come home for long visits, so they keep the house the way it was. But every single month you stay, you're paying for space you don't use through higher property taxes, bigger insurance bills, higher utilities, and more maintenance. Putting off the decision to right size your life can cost you tens of thousands of dollars in just a few years. Now, what you could do with that extra space in some of these houses is do you like an Airbnb bed and breakfast kind of thing, where since your kids don't live there, you can rearrange the room a little bit and rent out the rooms and be a host, cook and clean, stuff like that for the people that come and stay in your house, which keeps you from being alone because you get to cater to a bunch of strangers, and you can turn a little bit of a profit. It gives you something to do. If you book enough housing, you'll be able to, if you book enough housing, like a bed and breakfast kind of scenario, you'll have an extra income where you could probably retire off of your main job and focus on the bed and breakfast thing, because Airbnbs are becoming more and more popular in areas where hotels are overbooked, or inaccessible. But the money that could have been kickstarting your wealth building is money that you just let slip out of your fingers because you're not willing to accept change. These 5 things: lifestyle inflation, financial inertia, emotional spending, supporting adult kids, and delaying downsize, create a perfect storm that keeps you stuck. It's not about willpower or being bad with money. It's that you're standing at the intersection of old habits and a massive life earthquake without a new map. The good news: you can break free. And it starts right now by seeing these forces for what they are and decide to chart a new course. All right, so we've looked at the problem. You can now see the invisible drains that have been holding you back for so long. Now it is time for a solution. I never give you guys a problem that doesn't bring you a solution. This isn't about feeling deprived. It's about being intentional. It's about making your money finally work for your goals. And we're going to do it with a clear 5-step plan. First thing we want to do is conduct a freedom audit. In this first audit, you want to throw out your old budget. It's obsolete. It was made for a different life. We're going to replace it with what I call a freedom audit. This is a top to bottom review of every single dollar that leaves your account. That goal isn't just to see where the money is going, but to ask a much better question: does this expense serve the life I want to live now? You need to sit down, pull up the last 3 months of your bank and credit card statements, all of them, and look at everything through a new lens. Start with the easy stuff. Your household is smaller, so your grocery bill should be way down. Way down. If it's not, that's a red flag for a lifestyle inflation. Been eating, closer to canned goods, Roman noodles, stuff like that. Now we're doing steak and lobster. You might want to change that a little bit. You probably went from cooking at home to eating out. You might want to change that a little bit. Some have utility bills. You have, for some reason, a lot of appliances still running on a regular basis that you don't necessarily utilize, but that's what the kids left utilizing. So you have like video game consoles that are still plugged in, TVs and VCRs and Blu-ray DVD players, and you've got all kinds of appliances that suited the lifestyle of the children. Do you believe, even though a lot of these things are not on, some of these things have standby features that allows them to draw power? Anything with a clock on it is drawing power, even though you're not using it. So if you have a Blu-ray player or a surround sound system or an Xbox or PlayStation that your kids used to have and they didn't take that with them, and it's still in the house plugged in, it's drawing power. Anything with a light on it, anything with a service light on it, is drawing power. The little blue light, little green light, little red light on whatever device that you have in the house, it's drawing power. And if you understand that appliances that you don't, even the coffee pot, the coffee that you only use probably once a day in the make coffee, the entire time that little light is on that coffee pot, indicating that it has water, it needs water, how much water it has, that coffee pot is drawing power. If you unplug all of the stuff that you no longer use, you will find your light bill go down substantially. Plain and simple. If you just disconnect everything that you're not using. Don't mean you got to move anything, you just disconnect it. Next, you want to call your providers. Many offer free energy assessments to find more savings. And those free energy assessments are going to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. Go through your house, find all of the stuff that's functioning in your house, and see if anybody is using that stuff. If it's not, disconnect it. Since it's just you and your partner, you have peak times when the electricity costs more and non-peak times when the electricity costs less. And during peak times, if you're not required to use electricity, you're going to save money on your electric bill if you're using whatever electricity that you're using outside of peak times. Next, go after your subscriptions. And your partner switch to a cheaper one. Do you really need 500 cable channels and 5 streaming services? Call your car insurance agent, take your kids off of your policies, because you have a higher premium for children between 16 and 25. And because the insurance doesn't drop until they turn 30, you have a higher premium for every driver's license you have on your policy, period, whether it's an adult or a kid. But the premiums cost more for the kids than what they do for the adults. So if you take the kids off your policy, they got their own policy. They're not driving your cars. They should drive their own cars. Be that as it may, you do realize that your insurance will cover your vehicle if your vehicle is being driven by an authorized user. So you don't necessarily have to add anybody to your insurance policy that does not live in your house. But if you let that person borrow your car, your insurance will still pay for the crash because you're the owner of the car and your car was responsible for the crash. So you don't need to have your kids on your insurance policy. If you have your kids' car on your insurance policy, your kids need to pay you the difference for the car being on the insurance policy. You don't got to split it 3 ways or blah, 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 blah. Whatever the value of the car that they have on your policy increases your insurance bill, charge your kids for that amount. Same thing with the phone bill. You don't got to break their bank. If you want to turn a profit off of your kids, you can charge them the standard amount. If you're getting $35 a month as a bill for the kid and you charge them $45 a month, it's cheaper than what they would have gotten a single plan at $70 or $80 a month, and they still get the benefit from the family plan. They're getting the phone bill at a discount. You're getting you're providing the service at a premium, turning a profit off of them using the phone, which goes directly towards the phone bill. But if you've got 3 kids on the plan and each one of them is paying $45 a month or $50 a month with taxes, and your phone bill ultimately with you, your wife, and your 3 kids is about $225 a month. Once you get the $150 from the kids, you and your wife are paying closer to $75, $80 a month. So if your kids are not going to pay for their portion of the family plan, terminate the family plan, save you some money, and your premiums will go down. Don't wait for them to tell you that they got it. You have to ask them, or in my case, you have to charge them. For me, part of the whole allowance conversation, first, you start by teaching the children responsibility. You show them how to cook and clean and take care of the yard and take care of the house and other stuff. And that prevents you from having a housekeeper. You pay the kids to take care of the house. You divide the money up between the kids and you have them taking care of the house every day of the week. Out of the money that you pay them, they get a cell phone with that money. Out of the money that you pay them, you might help them buy the first car. You might buy the first car for them. Since it's not a birthday present, you buy the first car for them. And then you have them pay you notes on the car that you bought, which you could charge them interest on. Where you bought the car might be like $300 a month with interest. They might pay for that car. They might pay you for that car like $250, $300 a month with interest for like 3 years. You'll make back the money you spent on that car, but you're taking the money that your kids are giving you for the car and putting it aside for other things, which not a lot of people understand, because some parents are like, oh yeah, you're taxing your kids, you're a horrible parent. But no, you're teaching your kids financial responsibility. If you teach them how to maintain their cell phone bill with the money that they earn from working, they learn how to manage their bills. You teach them how to not run out there and go get a car because a friend has a car. You teach them how to take the money be able to afford before they go out and get a car. Then when they get a car, they're not getting a car because of the make, model, or brand. They're getting the car based on durability and affordability so that they can afford to pay for that car. They're paying for the gas. They're paying for the maintenance. They're paying for the insurance. They're paying you for the gas, for the maintenance, and for the insurance. Now, keep in mind, since they're paying you for these items, they're not gifts. They're not privileged. They're entitled to. As parents, you can't really take their phone and take their car as punishment for not being responsible children. But if you're teaching your children right from wrong, you don't have to take their car and take their phone to punish them for not following instructions, because you weren't teaching them to be responsible before they started doing what they were doing. Teach them responsibility. You don't have to take anything from them. However, since the money that you're giving the kids to take care of the house is being given back to you to get them the things that they want, the money is being recycled back into the budget, which allows you to children what they need by the kids work for it instead of you just handing it to them, which increases your budget a little bit. And then back to, if you bought them a car, they're paying you notes on it, so that's going back into the budget. If you paying for their phone bill, they're paying you notes on it, which goes back into the budget. If they want to upgrade, they pay for the upgrade, which goes back into the budget. So ultimately, the kids are taking care of themselves while you take care of the kids, so that the kids do not stay a financial burden. If this behavior pattern leads them into moving out, where, yeah, you might pay for their tuition if you didn't start up a college fund, and you might pay for their education, and that might be a gift. But when they move into the new house, if you funded the new house, if that's not covered by their financial aid and you funded the new house, they're supposed to be able to pay you back on that. And as they balance the budget, you're taking care of the situation. If something happens where the kids have an emergency, instead of it being a burden on you, the money that they paid you back for the stuff that you bought for them is sitting in an account somewhere making money, so that when they ask for money, that's their money. It's like a bank. The bank puts money aside to loan money to people, so that when people put the money back into the bank has more money to loan out, which prevents you from exhausting your resources and taking care of an out of house expense. So you don't wait for them to come to you and say, oh, hey, you could take me off your car insurance. You're like, nah, fuck the bill. You're not on the policy. Period. The same goes for life insurance. Now, life insurance could be a little bit different. And reason being, if you followed my method when I was telling you guys about building trust, and when you build the trust account, and you have it in the stipulations of the trust account that every beneficiary on the trust account must have an active life insurance policy, and the life insurance policy must have the trust as a beneficiary, right? If you set up some stipulations like that, then every kid is on there as a beneficiary. If the trust is designed to pay the life insurance policy out of the benefits for the beneficiary prior to giving the beneficiary their benefits for the month, then the trust pays for the kid's life insurance policy. The trust pays for the parent's life insurance policy. If something happens to one of the parents, the money from the life insurance policy goes into the trust, and then the trust pays for the life insurance policy for the other people on the trust. When the kids have kids, and the kids and their kids, which are the grandkids now, are added to the policy, those beneficiaries will receive benefits after you put on a life insurance policy that is paid for by the trust, where the trust is a beneficiary of the life insurance policy. Plain and simple. It's a complex setup, but plain and simple. So if something happens to somebody in your family, yeah, you're going to be sad, but you're also going to be glad that you're going to get a percentage of that payout once it hits the trust. And you might think about it because you might have bought a huge policy to protect your whole family if you're buying life insurance policies. But now that your kids are independent, you might think about probably changing that if you don't have everything tied up to the trust, like I told you guys to. You may be able to reduce your coverage and save on the premiums, because if you're not going to be covering all these individuals, if everybody's going to be covering themselves, you don't have to pay for everybody. Then we get to the big ones, the right sizing things. This is where you can find dramatic savings. Look at your home. Is keeping that big house serving your future, or is it just draining your bank account? Some people own their homes and they're not paying a mortgage anymore. Some people are still paying on their mortgage and they're not ready to move yet, but you could find that you can renovate it, you can rent it out instead of selling it, or you could take out a second mortgage on the house, buy you take a second mortgage on that house, and then buy you a second house and rent out the first house, where the second house is smaller than the first house. You might have in this current market, your house might be valued at $750,000 or $500,000. You might take a $250,000 loan, or 50% of the value of your house. You might take that value out as a loan, use that towards the down payment of buying yourself another house. Now that you have another house, you rent out your first house, the bigger house. Your tenants are paying a rent. They're paying like $2,500 a month. The market average for a rent, typically about $1 to $1.50 per square foot of property. And that money covers the mortgage, if you do it right, for both properties. Then you have less to pay. Now, if you're doing something like that, you're not only turning a profit, it's a tax covered profit, because the mortgage on the property is being paid for by the tenant. So the profit from the property is paying off a debt that means that on paper you didn't turn a profit. So remember that. Now, you want to be honest about the real costs. More taxes, property maintenance, you're covering insurances, because you have to have property insurances a lot of the time, yard work, HOAs, all of that stuff. Selling and moving to a smaller house, condo, or even an affordable area to unlock hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity and slash your monthly bills is the thing to look into. If you're not going to not renovate, you can renovate the house, but you want to rent out the house and move to a cheaper location to save money on expenses. Look at your car. Do you still need two, or could you downsize to one more fuel efficient model? Look at, do you own both of those vehicles? Do you have the green title for these vehicles, or are you still making payments? If you're making payments, you might want to trade your car in for a car that you own. If you own the cars, you might want to take the registration off of one of the vehicles and park it in the yard, put a car cover over it, and just leave it there. You can sell it to make you a profit, or like I told you guys last week and the week before, if you have more than one vehicle, you can park one vehicle that you're not making payments on in the yard, cover it with a car cover, back it up against the house so that your HOA isn't giving you shit about it, take the plates off of it and turn it in. By doing so, you can drop that vehicle off your insurance. You do not have to hold that vehicle on your insurance if it doesn't have registration. You're not paying for the vehicle while it is sitting in your yard. If it is not costing you money every month, it is no longer a problem. Then if the one vehicle that you are using starts having problems, you can drop that vehicle off at the mechanic shop, take the plates off of it, put it on the vehicle that is in the yard, and put that car back on the road, where the average across most states would cost anywhere between $7 and $15 to change registration from an active license plate from one vehicle to the next. So while your one vehicle is in the mechanic shop, and it might be there for a few weeks, typically some states the car can only be in a mechanic shop for a month. When you switch vehicles, you don't necessarily have to hurry up and switch back to the other vehicle. You can have the other vehicle towed back to the house. If you've got AAA, because some people do that, if you've got roadside assistance on your phone bill or roadside assistance on your, I'm trying to think, there's other places, because you have your car insurance will have it, but if you drop the car off of your policy, it does not have roadside assistance. But if your car insurance, not your car insurance, some cable bills have it, some phone bills have it, some credit cards. That's what I was thinking about. Some credit cards have roadside assistance as a free service. And they typically somewhere between 10 and 20 miles from the point of pickup without charging you any mileage to tow. If you brought the car up the street to the local mechanic, you drop the car off, they fix the car. After they fix the car, you take the car and put it on the back of the truck, tow it back to the house, park it in the yard. Done. Everything's copacetic. Now, the freedom audit is about liberation. You're shredding the financial skin of your old life to build a lean, efficient foundation for your new one. And if you build this habit with your kids to teach them financial responsibility, they will already have developed the habit that they are supposed to pay you on a regular basis for the services that you cover for them, which teaches them financial responsibility. It saves them money because they're going to be getting it from you on a discount because you're getting it from the company on a discount, which it would cost them more to do it by themselves. And then you can still be able to maintain the ability to mentor them in their financial decisions because you meet up with them every month to get paid. When your kids contact you, oh, I don't have it this month. Yeah, well, if you don't have it, the services get cut off. So this is one of those things you got to do. You got to hold me down or I'm going to shut you down. That's the two things. But if you're teaching your kids financial responsibility, you should not have that problem. If you got a loan of money, like I told you before about setting up the loan, yeah, it will cover the cost of the loan. But if you're owing me money already and you're about to borrow money, well, I'll have to set you up with a loan contract where you're going to pay me X number of dollars. And before I give you this money, I'm going to take out the amount that you owe me and give you what is left. And then you're going to pay me what you're going to pay me with interest. And I'm not going to loan you any money until you pay me back. If your kids are responsible, your kids will pay you back. The bills will stay paid, or you cut them off, one of the two. And that keeps you from being in extreme financial debt by taking care of irresponsible adult children. Every dollar you find here, every dollar that you save here, every dollar that you tax for an insurance rate, these are dollars that are going to be there to help you with your step two. Step two, you're going to be slaying the debt dragon. For so many people, debt is just a constant hum of stress in the background. Phones ringing, emails, letters in the mail. This is the perfect time to slice this noise for good. With the new cash flow you found in your freedom audit, your number one priority before anything else is to aggressively pay down the high interest debt or charge off the ones that you can't pay down. Why? Debt is an anti-investment. A credit card with an 18% interest rate is an 18% guaranteed loss on your money. So after a year. So if you are making payments on your credit card, I would have the actual habit of only putting money on my credit card that I can pay off before the end of the billing cycle. I would not charge money to my credit card that I can't afford to pay off before the end of the billing cycle. Typically, people try to stretch their money because they're not making enough money, and they'll charge things on their credit card that they don't have the money for, and then make the minimum balance payment, which keeps this debt on the sideline because their actual expenses is excessive over the income by the amount of the credit card limit. So they might have a $3,500 lifestyle with a $2,000 paycheck. Well, the other $1,500 of credit cards is holding the other $1,500 worth of debt, but you're paying the minimum payment on a credit card. Now that the kids are out of the house, you can pay all those credit cards down. I would not get there in the first place, but if you're there, let's work you down. Paying it off is like getting an 18% guarantee risk-free return. You also, in situations where you just can't do it, you got you a $5,000 credit card, it's at $5,500, the minimum balance is $150. You've been paying that $150 or $200 or $300 a month, and the card stays maxed out. You can call your credit card company, have them discontinue the account, which stops the reoccurring interest payments, put yourself into a payment plan, and just pay on the principal. The account being charged off in the negative gives you the ability to pay it down. And once you pay it down, it's no longer increasing in premiums, but it's no longer accessible to you. You will have to establish a new line of credit. I know some people will shift their debt by establishing a new credit card and having the new credit card absorb the debt from the old credit card, which moves the debt from one place to the next, and sometimes gives you 0% interest on the principal. Some credit cards do this and charge off the old credit card, and some don't. Depending on which one you end up with, your debt is relocated and your debt is paid, but you still have a credit card with a high debt. So you got to take care of that. You can't beat that in the stocks when you're dealing with an 18% loss, 18% guaranteed loss. You want to be able to knock that down so that you no longer have the 18% loss. Carrying that kind of debt is trying to swim with an anchor tied to your feet. So here's the plan. You want to list all your debts from the highest interest rates to the lowest interest rates. And this is usually credit cards first, then personal loans, car loans, and finally your mortgage. Take every spare dollar you found in step one and throw it at the debt with the highest interest rates first, while making minimum payments on everything else. This is the debt avalanche method. So the debt avalanche method, once the first debt is gone, you'll take all the money you were paying on it and attack the next one in the list. You'll create a powerful snowball effect. As each debt gets wiped out, you have more money to throw at the next one, and they will start disappearing faster and faster. Seeing that first credit card hit the zero balance is an amazing feeling, and it's a real win that proves you're in control. So for many, the last dragon is the mortgage. Becoming completely debt-free includes owning your home. And this is a cornerstone of a secure retirement. Just imagine entering your 60s with no mortgage payment. Think of the freedom and peace of mind when you only have to pay property taxes. And in some places, property taxes might be all of $1,200 for the year, where you're paying $100 to $120 per month for your house. That's golden. That's only achievable if you bought your house in your early 30s and you're able to pay it off over the course of 30 years. And now that you're in your 60s, the house is paid off. With the house being paid off, like I told you guys before, you might not want to sell the house because you own it. You could mortgage the house. Since it has 100% equity, you could mortgage the house for 60 to 65% of the value of the house, and then buy yourself another house cash up front that's smaller and cheaper than the house that you have. If you've got a big 5-bedroom house that's typically going for right now in some of the cheaper areas in the country, close to $500,000 to $750,000, you might be able to pick you up a $350,000 mortgage off of that house, which would allow you to buy a $250,000 house, which gives you plenty of money to own the house cash up front and allow for the tenants, when you rent out the larger house, to pay the one mortgage between the two houses, like I told you earlier. So your second house is free and your first house is being utilized, and you still have the capabilities of living a good life. Because if your house is valued at $750,000 or $500,000, and the tenant is only paying $300,000 over the course of 30 years, they're paying $10,000 a year with plus interest, which would ultimately accumulate to something close to like 12 or 15,000 a year, which means that the tenant would have to pay about 1,100 or 1,200 a month to cover the mortgage. But if you're charging them $2,500 a month or $2,000 a month for the size house that you have, you're going to be making $1,000 profit after the mortgage. But you could take that whole $2,000 a month, put it on the mortgage, or put some on the mortgage and the rest on the property taxes, however you want to do it. But the tenants will be paying for the cost of the house, and you'll be putting a little bit of money aside to cover any maintenance that's needed. So when you think about this, you think about the freedom and the peace of mind. Use your extra cash flow to make extra principal payments on your mortgage. Even a couple hundred extra dollars a month can shave off years of your loan. Slaying the debt dragon isn't just a financial move, it's a psychological one. Step 3 is going to be supercharging your future. For the past couple decades, your main savings goal was probably your kids' education or your kids' first car, something to that effect. Put the money into a 529 plan or other accounts for them. Now it's time to pivot. It's time to turn that savings muscle towards your own future. This is your catch-up. Decades of catch-up. You have to take full advantage of this. If you're 50 or older, the IRS gives you a superpower catch-up contribution. This lets you contribute way more to your retirement account. So for 2025, you can put an additional $7,500 into your 401 or your 403B, your 401k or your 401(b) on top of the regular limit. So you can also contribute an extra $1,000 to your IRA. So your new obsession should be maxing these out. All the money that you freed up from your audits and paying off debts should go directly here. Go increase your automatic contributions from paychecks today. Don't wait for it. And don't forget health savings accounts or HSAs. If you have a high deductible health plan, an HSA is a triple tax advantage powerhouse. High deductibles mean you've got to pay a certain quantity of deductibles before the policy kicks into effect. Your contributions are tax deductible. The money grows tax-free. And withdrawals for medical expenses are also tax-free. Medical expenses, including glasses. An HSA is an amazing long-term savings tool for healthcare costs and retirement, because the older you get, the worse your health gets. The worse your health gets, the more often you need a doctor. And if you're putting this money aside to cover that, not only is it going to be a tax write-off off of the profits that you're making, it is also going to give you money for the future that's going to require you to spend less out-of-pocket money to cover the cost of medical expenses. And during retirement, this is going to be one of your biggest expenses. And yes, there are catch-up contributions for HSAs for people that are over 55. Research shows that most empty nesters don't actually increase their retirement savings after their kids leave the home. They fall into the traps we already talked about. Don't let that be you. This is your moment. So for 20 years, you paid your kids first. Now it's time to pay your future self first, with the focus this critical decades of deserving to get your stuff together. You're now able to maintain a drive for your next step, because your kid's next step is already set in stone. Step 4, you want to redraw the family financial map. This next step can be tough emotionally, but it's essential for securing your future. You have to redraw the financial boundaries with your adult children and update your own estate plan. So let's start with the kids. It's time for an open and honest conversation about money if you haven't done this already. This isn't about cutting them off. It's about shifting your role from provider to mentor, which you should have done by the time they were 8 or 9 years old. But if you didn't do it until they were an adult, now it's time to get it done. You need to explain calmly and lovingly that you're in a new phase of life where you have to prioritize your retirement savings, and so your financial support is going to change. Go into this conversation with a clear timeline. For example, in 3 months, you'll need to take over your cell phone bill. In 6 months, you'll need to be on your own car insurance. Give them a heads up, allowing them time to plan. If you were not teaching this to your children before they were 20, if you weren't teaching this to your children before they were teenagers, then you will teach this to your children now that they're an adult. Be ready for any reaction. The key is to be firm but loving. If you spoiled your kids and gave them everything that they wanted with no requirement for any type of reciprocation, you're in a position where their existence requires you to fund them. When you change your dynamic from their existence requiring you to fund them to, if they're not benefiting you financially, you're not paying them for it. That's going to change their position. And typically they have gotten away with having a temper tantrum and guilt tripping you into compensating them for whatever it is that they wanted. Fact is, now that you're changing your position, you're coming from a business standpoint, that behavior is not going to work. So you got to be ready for their reactions. Reassure them that your emotional support is always there, but your financial role has to evolve. Frame it as an act of empowerment for them. If you didn't teach them how to be strong on their own, you're helping them build financial independence, a skill they need to learn while you're still here to guide them. So it was something you should have been teaching them their entire life. Back when I was growing up, we learned this the hard way because our parents did not have this type of respectful and appropriate and appreciative conversation. We had the kind of parents that said, if you want something, go get a job and then get it yourself. The only thing that was given to us was free room and board, which included food, clean clothes, and a roof over our head. Anything outside of that, entertainment, frivolous things, we had to go out and buy that. The more it cost, the harder we had to hustle to make the money to go buy what we wanted. So we bought our own video games, our own toys, our own bicycles, our own cell phones. We bought our own car. Our first car came off of our paychecks from the jobs that we went and got. And we learned how to make and spend money. We didn't learn how to save and invest money, but we learned how to buy the things that our parents did not want to or could not afford to pay for by going out and earning the money from somewhere else to pay for the things that we wanted. We did not discern the difference between what we wanted versus what we needed. We were capable of making impulse buys because we did not have financial responsibility. But once we become an adult and we have that financial responsibility that's not being covered by our parents, that's when we find it harder to impulse buy when we can't afford to pay for our primary needs. But once you set these non-negotiable expectations for behavior, you need to look at your own financial map of your estate plan. Your life has to change, so you and your documents need to change as well. Pull out your will, all your trusts, healthcare directives, and powers of attorney. Are the people you've named still the right ones? Are they still alive? Are you guys still on good terms? You know, you got to make these understandings. Have your wishes changed now that your kids are adults? This also is the perfect time to review your life insurance beneficiaries. If you have not made it a trust and you have not established a trust with the trustee on it, whether it's you or a third-party trustee, where the beneficiaries are fully established, because you should be establishing a non-revocable trust at some point. Once you get all of this stuff together, which is equivalent to building a living will, you're ready for whatever could potentially happen next. Finally, talk to one of those tax professionals. If you need one, we can give you Joe Mastrano's information. You can always contact us on the show, ask us about CPAs, and we'll give you information for a CPA who'll give you guys some assistance on how to work this out with your taxes. And you can also, if you tell them that you got the information from us, they'll also give you a substantial discount on the cost of the services. When your kids are no longer dependents, your tax situation changes. You want to make sure you're not missing out on any deductions or savings opportunities. But your kids are no longer being claimed as dependents. So because in order for them to claim head of household, they can't be your dependent at the same time. And they're going to file a tax return because they're an adult now. They have their own expenses. So they're going to file a tax return, which means that you have to differentiate them from being a dependent on your tax return to them being a household on their tax return. Step 5, you want to design your second act. Now, we've done the hard work. We've audited the budget, tackled the debt, ramped up the savings, and redrew the non-negotiable expectations for financial behavior. Now, for the best part, this last step is about shifting from defense to offense. It's about answering the question, what am I doing all this for? The answer is your second act. For the first time in decades, you can put yourself and your goals at the center of your life plan. Sit down with your partner or by yourself and dream a little, not a lot, a little. What have you always wanted to do? Think about that. Travel, start a small business based on a hobby, go back to school, spend more time with the grandkids. This isn't about thoughtless spending. It's about intentional spending. It's the exact opposite of the emotional spending we talked about earlier today. This is about linking your money to your joy. Your budget shouldn't be just bills and savings. It should have a line item for a fund or a second act fund. This is the money you'll use to build a life that actually excites you. This gives you a powerful why that will keep you motivated. The same way I told you guys about the early retirement fund, where you can say trip to Peru as an account. And as that value increases, you have a larger quantity of capital to go to Peru. That's exactly what we're doing here. When you're tempted to slip back into old habits, you can remind yourself, nope, that money is for our trip to Italy or Peru, or that's going to the lake cabin fund. It gives your financial plan a real purpose. Embracing this transition, recognizing the incredible opportunities that you have wisdom, experience, and now a clear path to get your finances in order. Use this time to explore and to reconnect with your partner, to invest in your health, and to build community. By proactively designing the life you want, you don't just drift into retirement. You arrive there with a purpose, a plan, and a genuine excitement for what's ahead. Your second act can and should be your best act. Getting started can feel like a lot, especially that first step of figuring out where all the money is going. To make it easier, I've created a free audit checklist. It's a simple guide that walks you through every category of your finances you need to look at, from insurance to subscriptions to hold the bills. It's made specifically for empty nesters. So what I want you guys to do is click on a link in the description. Oh, hold on. You're going to have to subscribe to the channel and join a membership, and it'll be located there. And in that link, you'll be able to get the information that you need for that first real step towards financial freedom. Some of the information that I gave you today is going to be included in that list. But if you're looking for a more detailed list, you can see that detailed list inside of the membership. Going from being stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle to a place of financial strength doesn't happen overnight. It's a series of conscious choices, one after another. It starts with letting go of the myth that you should have been better off automatically, instead of looking at the real reason your finances feel stuck. It's about seeing how lifestyle inflations and old habits, emotional spending, and even your love of your kids have been holding you back. But knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. So the real power is in the doing. By doing a freedom audit, you take back control of your cash flow. By deciding to crush your high interest debt, you free yourself from a huge weight. By supercharging your retirement accounts, you put time and compounding on your side by redrawing your family's financial map and creating clarity for everyone. And most importantly, by designing your second act, you give every dollar a powerful and exciting job to do. The quiet in your house doesn't have to feel like an emptiness. It can be an opportunity, and it's space to think, to plan, and to build. So you've raised your children and you've done it well, or you tried your best and this is the best that you could get. Now it is time. It is time for you to get your future together, and you want to build it in a way that isn't just secure, but is rich with passion, purpose, and freedom you worked so hard to earn over the course of your kid's entire life. The paycheck to paycheck cycle does not have to be your story for the rest of your life. Your new chapter should start today. Now, make sure that you guys continue to like and subscribe. I know that you guys are going to see more of us on the rest of the week. As a matter of fact, we're going to be touching base and letting you guys know what the status is of the 2 harbor stock. When is it a good time to throw it up for sale? We're going to be talking to you guys about opportunities to make, save, and invest. We are also going to give you guys more information. Today is Thursday, so Friday, Saturday, we have more information about how to improve yourselves, how to improve your decision making, how to improve your relationships. So we're going to be talking about those things. I think establishing an estate plan for your kids might be a good show to have for tomorrow, because if you start at a younger age and you start teaching your children how to contribute towards their own estate plan with their own allowance, these are things that could help you with getting your kids to be independent at an early age, which allows you to have your way to detach yourself financially from your children and still be able to invest in your future, where your future will benefit your kids' future, stuff to that effect. So I think that's what we're going to be trying to cover tomorrow. And we're going to be letting you guys know how the stock is changing throughout the weekend. Remember that we're live 7 nights a week. We have maintained a reputation of not letting the sun rise without going live. We covered Bhutan at 4 a.m. this morning because we started the show late. So you can go back and check Bhutan and any stock information that we gave you guys during the show this morning. And then we also have our members only show on Sunday. We have already pre-selected several Wednesdays worth of shows that we were going to be doing. He said he can't sleep. Oh shit, he caught me off guard. I can't sleep. Why you can't sleep, Steven? Steven, why can't you sleep? Oh. Oh my goodness, this man jumped into he left like 40 minutes ago. Hey, I appreciate you coming to the show, Rev Chap. I'm gonna be seeing you tomorrow. He said, I just joined and I'm tired, but I can't sleep, bro. Well, we were wrapping the day's show up. I was just about to tell everybody that we're going to be looking into how politics have shifted for our Monday show. We've got our shows pre-listed for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, because Tuesday we're going to be talking about how to check your wealth status, and we're going to be doing other countries, because I do believe we had covered Portugal, and now I think we got Uruguay and some other countries that we're going to be talking about coming soon. So we got those pre-listed, and I was going to be trying to list your Friday and Saturday show, hopefully tonight, so that it'll be ready for the rest of the weekend. And note that the Sunday night show is going to be up and ready to run, so that you guys can not only see the shows, but go to the YouTube channel and hit the notification button on the upcoming shows, because usually I list the show right before the show airs. But since I took a sabbatical of on-time airing, I figured I could give you guys a little bit of mine and put up the next week's worth of shows before the shows get there, which also gives me a little bit more time, because if all I got to do is put together the script for the show, because the show is already up there, it's easier to do, because it takes me quite a long time. It takes me about an hour to get the type of show that we're going to do and get the concept together and put all the SEOs in there. And then it takes me about an hour to get the script together. So I was like, well, I figure I was going to move everything around and now like cut down half of it. And then I can only spend like 30, 45 minutes with sharpening up the script right before the show, which gives me time to take a nap and then wake up on time and do the show and be ready for it and start the show reasonably on time. You said my wealth status is billionaire. Well, it's not the wealth mindset that we intend to have. It's going to be based off of how much you make versus how much you spend versus how much you have in access. We're able to determine exactly how close to the billionaire's mindset, because you could be a billionaire and still be a wasteful spender. A billionaire mindset, an individual that makes more money than they spend and has more accessible capital than they need. And the closer you get to that dynamic, the wealthier you are. Doesn't matter which financial gap you're in, because you can be a billionaire status, you can be $100,000 a year status, and still have the same dynamic, just a smaller expense with a smaller overhead. Well, a smaller overhead with a smaller income coming in. The difference is that you have more than what you need, you spend less than what you have, and you always have extra in addition to for whatever. I spend money only on food, rent, and stocks, and some other stuff. Well, me too. But eventually we're going to want to spend our money on vacations. We're going to want to spend our money on a trip somewhere, whether we're getting on a Caribbean cruise and crashing into the Bahamas, or taking a flight to the other side of the country, or, going to Disney World or something like that. Whatever it is that we decide to do, we're going to be in a position where we're going to want to spend some money on something that's a little more than just getting in the car and driving down to the beach and drinking a few Heinekens. So when we're considering this, we start putting enough money away for us to do something like visit another country or relocate to another country. Because if you own your house in America and you have the money set up where taxes is going to happen, and you might have to download the paperwork. This is a funny thing. At this moment in society, you can file your taxes online, and most people who file their taxes using TurboTax attaches their bank account to their taxes, which should be the only thing that bank account is used for. You should be able to wire money to that bank account to pay taxes if you have to pay taxes. And then have that bank account be the bank account that they deposit money into when they're giving you refunds. You owning your own house in America could have a certain quantity of capital to cover the quantity of time that you're gone sitting in your bank account on auto pay. Then, oh yeah, I haven't paid taxes for 2 years before. You can technically not pay taxes your whole existence in America and not ever be audited unless somebody reports you to the IRS. But if you own property taxes is expected to be paid, and then they put liens on the property after a while. And then they foreclose on the property and put it up for sale, put it up for auction to get the taxation on the property. So once you start owning real estate, you have to file taxes so that they can notate that your taxes is exempt on your particular property, so that you're not in a problem with that particular scenario. Once you reach a certain age, I do believe it's between 65 and 68 years old, your property can qualify for tax exemption in certain cities and states around the country. And if you fill out the paperwork where your house qualifies for tax exemption, then you don't have to file taxes on your property. But once you cover that, like I said, you own your own house, and then you're able to do your taxes if need be online. So you could do it from Tibet. You don't have to be in America. Then everything is covered. And then once that happens, your house is always going to be there. You can live in another country and not have any financial expenses, because if you turn off the lights, water, and everything like that, if they charge you $10, $20 a month, that's the most that they're going to charge you to keep the services on. Everything else is unplugged and turned off. The house is empty as far as food and stuff is in the fridge. And then when you go to another country, you're living that $1,000 to $2,000 lifestyle over there, and you're only spending like $250 to $100 a month for American standard living over here, because you've dropped your registration on your vehicles because you're not driving them. When you want you drop the insurance on your vehicles because you're not driving. You can keep the insurance on your vehicles if you want to, but it's a waste of money if you're in another country and you're not driving those vehicles. And then when you want to get your vehicles back up and running again, you go back and reestablish a policy with your previous lender or your previous insurer. And you know, all of the money you're saving with your American standard of living ends up going back into your overseas standard of living. All your stuff is still there. When you do fly back after 6 months to a year, 5 years, whatever, you do fly back, everything is right where you left it at, hopefully, and you should just be able to spend the first couple of weeks back in the States reinstating everything that you had suspended and turned off. And then you're back to the normal grind that you once had. If you're anything like me, you got a few dozen throwaway plates that are sitting around the yard. You throw a plate on the back of the car, drive down to the DMV, get you a different plate. Steve says, that's why I like being paid cash for some stuff. Well, if you're being paid in cash, direct deposit, PayPal, it doesn't matter. If your employer, see, when you work for yourself, nobody reports to the IRS outside of stock options. So when you work for yourself, you don't necessarily have to pay for taxes until property taxes comes up. Property taxes is mandatory. So personal is optional. The mandatory part about personal taxes is that if you report, you must tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You're not supposed to withhold assets that you don't want them to know about. If you tell them that you have a certain quantity of assets, withholding a certain quantity of assets, even if it's overseas assets, that's tax fraud. So if you're going to tell them about your money, you got to tell them about all your money. But if you're not going to tell them about your money, you just don't tell them about your money. If they don't ask, you don't answer. And there isn't a problem with that. Now, when they do knock on your door and say, hey, you got to pay me, whatever they tell you to pay them, because you haven't been filing over the last several years, you're going to give it to them so that they're not auditing you for 10 to 20 years. You know, but the difference between what you did give them versus what you could have gave them, way less either way. But when you're doing the house, it's the house. So if you're in a situation where, you know, specifically when I told you guys about selling the house to the trust, if you own the house and you sell the house to the trust using a quitclaim deed, the trust will cover the cost of the house. And then if the trust is covering the cost of the house, then whatever has to happen with that happens. Now, the funny thing is that if the house is in your name and your name is over the age of 65 and the house is tax exempt, if nobody gives the deed office your death certificate, the house is still yours. As long as the house is in the name of an exempt person, the house doesn't have to have taxes on it. So if somebody else inherits the house, until you go to the deed office and take that owner's name off of the house, they're not going to tax that property. Which means that if you willed it to your kid, it's still in your name. You got it tax exempt. Your kid has possession over the house. They're not going to tax the house for your kid's entire childhood until the deed office recognizes that the person who has a tax exemption no longer has possession of the house. So just failing to update the records, you end up in a position to not have to pay taxes on the house when you inherit the house from your parents, because it requires, when you die, for somebody to have an estate plan scenario set up. And this is what I'm saying. It's like you have to send the death certificate all over the place so that people start dispersing your assets in probate. Well, if you just die and nobody says anything, a death certificate is generated but not dispersed to any of your estate, nobody knows what happened to you, right? And since your power of attorney might be covering you, the trust might be covering for you, but the lack of distribution of records changes the lack of triggering of other actions and activities. Soon as the title changes hands from the person that was tax exempt to somebody that is not tax exempt, the property has to be paid taxes on. But let's say that your family member passes away, and before the title office realizes that the family member passes away, you've reached the age for tax exemption. If you change ownership from them to you, you're still tax exempt. Either way, you still can fly to another country, live a good life, come back, you have a house that you own. Steven says, I can't buy a house right now in this economy. Plus, Orange Man, what's the denaturalization? Orange Man. You're asking me what's the denaturalization of Orange Man? I don't even know about Orange Man. Let me check what what is the, I'm not sure what Orange Man is. We're gonna see if I can figure that out real quick. See if we can find out what's going on with Orange Man. There's an Orange Man term, has several meanings depending on context. There's a film, Orange Man, from 2025 horror comedy. There's a cultural political reference where Orange Men is members of the Orange Order, a Protestant fraternal organization originating in North Ireland. Donald Trump's phrase, Orange Man, is sometimes used to refer to Donald Trump, referencing his distinctive tan. The meme Orange Man Bad is also used online to mock criticism of Trump. And then advertisement of Orange Man was a well-known UK television advertisement for the Tango soft drink. And other uses is it can refer to a man from any place named Orange, the former nickname for Syracuse University sports team, or even as a playful reference to, what is that, orangutans, whose name means man of the forest in Mali. Okay. That's it. Oh, you meant Trump. That's what it's calling. Oh, they're calling him. That's why they're calling him Orange Man. They do a lot of mocking a billionaire. And to me, myself, I ask myself, why do they care? Because this guy is a billionaire. They need to be trying to get themselves to 1 million before they start dishing on this guy. because this guy who's got a $50 million wife is a $3 or $4 billion man. Most of us got women on welfare, Social Security, with child support, alimony. We don't even, most of us can't even say that we got the kind of female that's a $50,000 a year female while they're demanding $100,000 a year man. And we sitting over here knocking on a man that got he got a $50 million wife. If Donald Trump got bankrupt, he would still be a $50 million man because he's married to a $50 million woman. I don't understand why they knocking on this man. He said, hey, I'm saving for that gold card. I don't know about the gold card, bro, but the phone might actually be a good thing because you got included phone bill, you've got mental health treatment, you got on-call concierge doctors that you could talk to over the virtual calls. So I believe that the services that he's putting into the phone plan is a good idea. And I do believe that if people like T-Mobile was to incorporate that into their phone plan, that'd be fucking fantastic. The gold phone itself, I don't see myself buying a gold phone for the sake of having a gold phone, but the phone is exclusive to the phone line. So until Donald Trump has a phone service that is allowing unlocked phone to be transferred over to that particular brand, it's not going to be, oh, that's got to be a must. You must be a U.S. citizen to buy the phone. Because it's a political agenda phone, it's got to be part of the plan. You must be a U.S. citizen to buy the phone. You know, if you don't have citizenship, you can't buy this phone. That would be a slap in the face for those individuals that have yet to apply. And from what I understand, there isn't a restriction on undocumented people from getting citizenship in America. The only restriction is that the undocumented people that refuse to get citizenship are still going to get tossed out. Yeah, I don't want ICE coming to my house. I don't mind if ICE coming to my house. What I have a problem with is if ICE brings SWAT to my house. I can handle ICE. ICE is like DCF, you know, the Child Protective Services. Is 2 or 3 people with a clip-on badge hanging around their neck like a necklace, walking up, asserting their authority because this is the only time that they have power in their life. And they come to my house and they did not realize when they got here that I am one of a small selection of Second Amendment happy individuals. And you really have to stand your ground at this location. So, you know, I don't have a problem. I have a problem with SWAT because when SWAT shows up, CIA, FBI, NSA shows up, they like 40, 50 folks deep. I got to be there like Scarface. Say hello to my little friend, trying to negotiate. You know, that I have a problem with that. Is how long do immigrants got to be in this country to apply for citizenship, and what do they need? Immigrants have no time left to apply for this country, and what they're going to need is all of their original documents from where they came from, birth certificates and other stuff like that, and whatever they carried with them. And then if they don't have all of the paperwork that they need, they're going to have to either get it or have substitutions generated by the U.S. government, which all of that stuff requires time and effort. While immigration is still, ICE is still snatching everybody up because Donald Trump is not trying to kilter to deporting the working class in the agricultural sector. Those individuals that are honest, hardworking Americans might get put into a immigration or a visa status and then sent back home since they haven't caused any problems and they've been paying bills and other such. But that's not going to stop them from being snatched up. Now, the individuals that are problems, people who have gotten trouble since they got here, or people who are living off of the system, they're going to get shipped out. Anybody that leaves is not going to be allowed back for at least 3 to 10 years. So that's going to be something that, they've got to deal with. And when they do come back, they're going to have a harder way to get back, because you're going to have, some type of travel visa to come into the country. So there's going to be massive raids on Tuesday on the whole country, from what I hear. If that's the case, I'm going to cover that on Monday. If they're going to do massive raids across the country, like they're going to have like a sting operation where they're going to hit every place at once, I'm going to talk about it on Mondays, because I got to get all the details behind that. So as much as I want to carry things over, I got that 1 o'clock contract, which was unexpected, but they are putting in extra. So I got to make that money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the show up here. I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Special shout out to RevChamp76, Stephen IEMK, Usman, Mr. Satellite, and Reese Martinez. I really appreciate you guys. And from Twitter, Steven's on Twitter, but from Twitch, I want to give a shout out to Red Void, Omni81, and Danny Steffen. So I really appreciate you guys for showing love to the show. We are he said, bet W stream today. I appreciate it. I should be able to get back on time. Yesterday was a one-off, but when you burn out, you burn out. So things happen, but you should see consistency going forward, because I'm starting to get some assistance with some of the workloads. So that's going to reduce the quantity of things I've got to do, which is going to free up a little bit more time for me. Remember, guys, we are a male-driven podcast. We got about 75% of the membership is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. Ladies, y'all can learn from us and get this information, because this is not gender exclusive information. This is information that anybody listening to the channel can learn from, get some stock tips and advice throughout the week, every day of the week, so that you guys know where to put your money and how to make yourselves more money to make money for you, and how to make better decisions for your personal life so that you can improve your personal life, whether you're a male or a female looking for a partner that has the same mentality to make things better for yourselves. He said, I thought you were going to let the sun rise. Nah. Most people would have a podcast and say, oh, I missed the dedicated airtime. I will just do my podcast tomorrow. Bump that. It is better to air late than to never air at all. So I will air my show 6 hours late before I not air at all. So if I was supposed to start at 10 and I didn't start at 10 and I started at 4 a.m., I will start. But I am not going to say, I'm going to let 24 hours pass because I did not do. Nope. I am going to air. So speaking of that, anybody who missed the Bhutan show, because we covered Bhutan at 4 a.m. this morning, y'all can always, it's attached to this show. Y'all can click the link and it'll take you to Bhutan show, and any information that I had at 4 a.m. this morning, y'all can definitely get that information as well. Remember, we're live 7 nights a week. And as Steven said, I am dedicated to not letting the sun rise without going live every single day of the week. So we have 2 shows for today because I went live earlier today and I'm going live now. I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And you will see me at around about 10:35 Central Time, which is around 11:35 Eastern Standard Time, which is about 7:35 California time. So you're going to see me tomorrow on time-ish, right? So thank you guys very much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.